Welcome back and thank you very much for staying with us. This is WION Wild as One. We are glad you're watching. This is a WION continuous coverage. I'm Eric Njoka. The headlines.
A niche technology weapons with careful selection of warheads was ensured so that there will be no collateral damage.
India avenges Pahalgam terror attack, executes a meticulously planned retaliatory strike codenamed Operation Sindoor, dismantles 9 terrorist camps within Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in 25 minutes. India's most wanted terrorist Masood Azhar's 10 family members, including mother and sister, wiped out in precision strikes. Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters in Bahawalpur blown up in retaliation for the Pahalgam terror attack. At least 15 civilians killed and 43 others injured in cross-border shelling by Pakistan along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. This amid heightened tensions between India and Pakistan after Operation Sindoor. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif authorized his country's armed forces to undertake corresponding actions after India strikes, calls Operation Sindoor an act of war. Russia says it is deeply concerned on aggravation of military confrontation between India and Pakistan, urges restraint from both countries. Chinese President Xi Jinping arrives in Moscow, kicking off a 4-day visit to attend Russia's Victory Day military parade on the 9th of May. The Russian Foreign Ministry says the trip is one of the central events in Russian-Chinese relations this year. Hundred 133 cardinal electors have now been locked inside the Sistine Chapel at the Vatican for the conclave. They will now emerge only after a new pope is elected.
Only the jury, having found that this is a unanimous verdict, the court will read the verdict as follows. In indictment 2300241, State of Tennessee versus Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith, if counsel would like to stand with their clients. The verdicts read as follows. Count 1, second-degree murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Tadarius Bean, not guilty. Count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant, Demetrius Haley, not guilty. Count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant, Justice Smith, not guilty. All verdict forms have been signed by the foreperson. Attorneys, you can have a seat with your clients. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have performed your duty.
Good evening. It's the oldest and most secretive election process in the world. And in a matter of hours, 133 cardinals from 72 countries will be locked inside the Sistine Chapel to elect the 267th Pope. That's when the eyes of more than 1 billion Catholics will turn to the chapel's chimney, waiting for any sign of smoke. We have our 9 News team standing by in Rome and expert analysis here at home. In a moment, we'll cross live to the Vatican, but first, Jessica Millwood explains what these next few days and potentially weeks will look like.
The conclave is a stunning spectacle watched by Catholics around the world. An ancient tradition to decide the new leader of the Church. Since the death of Pope Francis, cardinals have been meeting to get to know each other, to establish which direction the Church should take.
No pope is perfect. No one is able to do everything. So we will find the best person to succeed St. Peter.
As the Italian saying goes, you enter the conclave as Pope and you come out as a cardinal. Many consider predicting the next Pope a fool's game, but these are the men considered frontrunners. Cardinal Pietro Parolin. He's been the Vatican's Secretary of State since 2013, a close papal confidant. He's considered a moderate figure within the Church. Born in Scavone, Italy, he's become an expert on Middle East affairs and is vocal about the need for action against climate change.
Asking the more affluent nations that they may acknowledge the gravity of so many of their past decisions.
He would very much fall in line with Pope Francis's geopolitical strategy, his diplomatic strategy. We could see him being very similar to Pope Francis' approach on issues such as China.
Speaking in Jordan in January, he said, "In my view, a just peace means peace founded on international law and the declarations of the United Nations. From a Christian perspective, we understand justice in its various facets, but fundamentally, I would say just peace refers to peace that aligns with international law and its rules." Cardinal Peter Odo represents the more orthodox side of the Church and is president of the European Bishops' Conference. The 72-year-old, born in Hungary, has strong conservative views on issues like remarriage and divorce. He's been critical of gay marriage and European nations for taking in refugees, likening it to human trafficking.
Pope Francis had opened the door to giving blessings to individuals in same-sex unions. That's something we could potentially see reversed if Erdo were to be elected Pope.
He was also a close friend of Cardinal George Pell. Cardinal Matteo Zuppi of Bologna was one of the closest to late Pope Francis, who made him a cardinal in 2019.
Maria Santissima.
Born in Rome, he has progressive views, has expressed support for dialogue with the LGBTQI+ community. The 69-year-old has participated in global peace missions in recent years, meeting with Ukraine's President Zelensky and former US President Joe Biden.
You can expect him to share very much Pope Francis' social agenda, and he's been the Pope's go-to guy.
Good morning to all of you.
Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle is also considered a strong chance. He's 67 years old and was born in Manila, only the 7th Filipino to become a cardinal. He would be the first Asian Pope.
The gift of his presence and love for us will be our gift to people.
Typically left-leaning, he has in the past criticised the Church's attitude towards gay people, unwed mothers and divorced and remarried Catholics.
When pessimism takes over, we see only darkness, failures, problems, things to complain about.
Australia-based Ukrainian Bishop Mykola Bychok is the youngest cardinal set to vote today. He's considered a rare chance of being elected, having been only appointed a cardinal by Pope Francis 6 months ago. Whoever is chosen, one thing is already certain: a new chapter in the rich history of the Catholic Church is about to be written. At the Vatican, Jessica Millward, 9 News.
Hello and welcome to our nation's capital. For Straight Arrow News, I'm your host, Ryan Robertson. And on this episode of Weapons and Warfare, now is normally the time where I tell you about all of the things that we have planned. But instead of that, we're going to take a cue from the NBA and do a little load management. Actually, it's a little bit more like road management. That's because right now we are in Washington, D.C. covering our very first modern-day Marine event, where Marines of all ranks get the chance to not only hear from leadership about the policies and plans for their branch's future, but meet with industry partners who are working to team with America's maritime land force and ensure Marines have what they need to win the fight when called upon. From here, we're headed about 900 miles south to Tampa, Florida for Special Operations Forces Week, or SOF Week 2025. We'll be there as leaders and operators from the Special Operations community gather to hear keynote speeches and panel discussions, as well as take part in hands-on workshops and product demonstrations as they continue to prepare for great power competition and whatever future conflicts come America's way. So, while I know some of you may be disappointed we don't have a full-on episode for you this week, rest assured, the wait will be worth it. In the meantime, if you just gotta get your weapons and warfare fix, might I suggest...
Is that referring to the Persian Gulf as the Arabian Gulf? Are you going to make that announcement on your trip?
They're going to ask me about that when I get there, and I'll have to make a decision.
So you haven't made a decision yet?
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't know if feelings are going to be hurt. Well, I have a case right over here. It's called Gulf of America, and I guess a lot of people get ideas from us. But the Gulf of America was something I thought should have been named a long time ago. I'm going to be given a briefing on that. It was just done, and I'll make a decision.
If you're just getting used to the switch from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, you might want to keep taking notes, as President Trump is set to announce the U.S. will soon refer to the Persian Gulf as the Arabian Gulf, or Gulf of Arabia. A pair of U.S. officials who wish to remain anonymous tell the Associated Press the announcement will be made during Trump's visit to the Middle East next week. Arab nations previously lobbied for the name change, but Iran, which was formerly known as Persia until 1935, has kept historic ties to the body of water covering 1,000 miles of its southern coast. The Iranians' name of the Gulf has become a rallying cry for Iranians who relish their nation's long history as the former Persian Empire. President Trump previously disputed with Tehran during his first term when he referred to the sea as the Arabian Gulf. Iranian officials criticized the wording by the president, saying he needs to study geography. Iran's foreign minister responded to the latest report Wednesday on X, calling Donald Trump's plan politically motivated and saying attempts to alter the historically established name of the Persian Gulf are indicative of hostile intent toward Iran and its people and are firmly condemned. The move comes just months after Donald Trump signed an executive order renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. CNN now reports House Speaker Mike Johnson now faces opposition from some within his own party as he tries to pass a bill making Donald Trump's executive order law. The bill reportedly cannot afford to lose any votes, but Republicans remain optimistic it will pass. The Trump administration previously banned the Associated Press from the White House after it refused to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico. But a judge recently ruled the AP must be reinstated after the news outlet filed a lawsuit against the administration.
Diplomatic actions between the war in India and Pakistan. What's your position?
Oh, it's so terrible. My position is I get along with both. I know both very well, and I want to see them work it out. I want to see them stop. And hopefully they can stop now. They've gone tit for tat, so hopefully they can stop now. But I know both. We get along with both the countries very well, good relationships with both, and I want to see it stop. And if I can do anything to help, I will be there.
An international Jewish task force is highlighting what it calls a tsunami of anti-Semitism following the October 7th terror attacks in Israel. The J7 group represents 7 of the largest Jewish communities outside of Israel. They're in Argentina, Australia, Canada, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, and the United States. The group's first report records a sharp increase in anti-Semitic incidents across all 7 countries between 2021 and 2023, including a 75% rise here in Germany, an 82% rise in the UK, 185% rise in France, and in the United States, 227% rise. The report also finds an overall rise in anti-Semitic incidents, particularly violent ones targeting Jewish institutions, a spike in online hate, and a growing feeling of insecurity among Jewish communities. That's a lot to digest there. For more on this, I want to bring in our news editor, Sarah Hoffman. She has been studying the report's findings. Good to have you here in the studio, Sarah. So the report describes a tsunami of anti-Semitism in the aftermath of the October 7th terror attacks in Israel. What sort of incidents are we talking about?
Yeah, absolutely, Brent. So they give several examples of October 7 itself, of what happened in these countries outside of Israel. And some of the examples include gatherings or demonstrations where people chanted, "Gas the Jews," "F the Jews," things like that, anti-Semitic slurs alongside the burning of Israeli flags. They also described how, for example, a Jewish child in a school in Canada was attacked on October 7, and that she was told that Jews deserve to die. This is one of the examples. But also in the aftermath of October 7, like what happened, for example, in 2024 in Australia, was the arson attack on a synagogue in Melbourne, but also the case of rape of a French young girl of 12 years old who was raped by teenagers while they insulted her anti-Semitically.
I know that there are various definitions of anti-Semitism. It can be defined in various ways. Which one does the J7 group use?
Yes, so this group uses the so-called IHRA definition by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. And there's basically 2 things that you need to understand about this IHRA definition. One thing is that it is applied in many countries, for example, also in Germany and institutions, but also in the German parliament, the Bundestag. But at the same time, you need to know that this very specific definition has been harshly criticized. Mainly,
it's relatively new too, right? I mean, we're talking about this, at least the beginning of this century is when we've seen it come in.
Yes, absolutely. But it has been out there for many years, this IHRA definition. And it has been applied many times already. But the reason why it is discussed currently as well is that it is very broad and up to interpretation. And critics say that it can actually limit freedom of speech, especially when it comes to criticizing Israeli policies. The reason why that is lies actually in the examples that the IHRA gives. And one of the examples is, for example, denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination, for example, by claiming that the existence of the state of Israel is a racist endeavor. So now if you interpret this broadly, you can say that basically everyone who accuses Israel, for example, example, of being an apartheid state, I quote here, is anti-Semitic. And the same applies, for example, to one of the slogans being chanted or held up in many pro-Palestinian protests, from the river to the sea. This is, according to the IRA, clearly anti-Semitic. While some other people, and by the way, this slogan is banned in Germany as well, by the Ministry of the Interior. But in the past, courts have said here in Germany as well that you can interpret this slogan broadly as also a call for equal rights for everyone in Israel and the Palestinian territories.
And we're running out of time, but that's the challenge, isn't it? There is this conflation that goes on sometimes of criticizing the policies of the Israeli government, conflating that with being anti-Semitic.
Yes, sometimes this can be conflated, and you have to divide here. There are some people who do think that the IRA is limiting freedom of speech. Others, like the G7, who would argue that this is important to tackle anti-Semitism, to apply these definitions, and they do. And this might be actually one of the reasons why these numbers are so high that are stated in the report.
The definition is key to so many things. Unfortunately, we're out of time, Sarah. It was good to have you here in the studio. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
To the Houthis, have you told the military to stop attacks against the
We just informed them a little while ago, and all action is stopping. Some people probably haven't heard yet. You know, there are various people in various rather strategic locations But by this moment, they should just about all know, Marco, I think, that the attacks are going to stop both ways. And that's pretty much it. But we've just informed everybody just a little while ago.